This week on Addicted to the Outdoors.
This week we are closing out our annual November road trip at Big B Miller's place.
Man, look at this beast.
It's time for the Indiana gun opener.
So we're just gonna relax and wait for the shooter buck.
Gene and I, the plan the whole season was for us to spend more time together.
Right now it's all about finding the deer. We'll see.
So these bucks better watch out.
And there's like a 40-mile-an-hour wind. I mean, it is absolutely ripping outside. I look up and out in the field, I see this big old buck. And he starts working my way. Man, I'm just hoping I can get a shot off.
Holy jeez. Oh my God.
Born and raised by a hunting family in the swamps of Florida and shooting a bow by 8 years old, Jon Brunson took to hunting early. Gina grew up fishing with her father, but it was weekend hunting trips with Jon that put big game blood under her fingernails for the first time. Even now, with raising 6 kids and running 3 companies, Jon and Gina are still a fistful of dirt couple that take life by the antlers. Sound familiar? If so, pull up a stump with the Brunsons, because they are addicted to the outdoors.
Man, what a buck.
This week we are closing out our annual November road trip at Big B Miller's place. Tough November this year. Definitely had to work for it. You know, we were hoping to kind of close out the trip strong.
Well, you know, I'm always looking forward to our annual trip with B. Miller. Brad's a longtime friend, and it's always fun getting into deer camp with him and the boys.
Heading to Brad's Lodge in Indiana. It's a place we've hunted a million times. We were just looking forward to the trip. We knew we'd have a good time with Brad, and you know, you never know what's going to run by you on one of Brad's farms. So heading into camp, you know, it was late. We do our traveling at night. You know, we don't want to burn any daylight driving. On the way in, we buzzed Alan, a guy that we work with. You know, every year when we hunt with Brad, we stay at Brad's Lodge, but we don't always hunt Brad's farms.
Alan.
Hey, buddy.
What's up, buddy?
Not much.
Hopefully you got a good one figured out for us. We're off to a rough start.
You know, all in all, he was positive and, you know, felt like we'd probably get a crack at something.
We'll meet you there at 6 a.m. ready to roll.
All right, buddy.
All right, Alan. See you, bud.
Drive careful.
All right, thanks, man.
By the time we got to camp, you know, it was 4 a.m., which is not really unusual for us. This is one of those nights we kind of strategized on the way in, got in at 4 a.m., got settled in, and, you know, we were ready to put a full day in the tree and see if we couldn't get Gina a good buck down.
It's time for the Indiana gun opener, and Jon and I definitely need something to change up our luck this November.
So we're definitely excited, you know, getting out there, opening morning of gun in Indiana, it's always interesting. So that first day, you know, we were in our stand before light, you know, ready to rock and roll. You know, Gene and I, the plan the whole season was for us to spend more time together. I was doing a lot of filming for her, you know, trying to get her a buck down, and just really getting back to the, you know, kind of how we used to hunt, just, you know, out there spending time together.
One thing Jon and I are doing this season is hunting together more often like we used to. No cameraman, just me and him spending quality time in the outdoors, just doing what we love.
Made it to Indiana.
Yeah.
Saw a few does this morning, some bucks running does. With the blind being so exposed, and they weren't. They kind of just stopped and looked at us, staring at us for a little while. So, big old buck comes out, stops to check us out. Did you get shot? I do.
Whatever for a buck.
Yeah, the stuff we do for a buck.
You know, just quiet, you know, especially for Indiana. I mean, usually when that sun comes up in Indiana on opening gun, it sounds like, you know, a war going on. You know, so at this point, you know, we're starting to already get a little concerned about how goofy November had been.
These bucks better watch out.
I wasn't coming out of that stand until I shot a deer or got blown out by the storm.
He's a shooter. He's a big buck. Looks like a big 10.
Trying to get camera situated, everything's going crazy, and at this point, man, I'm just hoping I can get a shot off. It's hard to kill them from camp, so you just got to dig in and hope for the best. Saw a few deer, but I'll tell you, just nothing compared to what we should have been seeing in November. Man, we just had to head back to camp, catch up with everybody, and try to strategize on, how we're going to get a deer down, because, looking at how November had gone, looking at the slow deer movement that first day, it was already making me nervous. So, that night it was all about getting back to camp and trying to figure out what's the best plan for day 2, and where do we think we can go get one down. So when we got back to camp, Brad and all his boys had been bugging me about checking out our new Best of the West rifles and our Huskemaw optics. Yeah.
So this is our muzzleloader, completely custom muzzleloader. Their guys are shooting consistent groups with it at 700 yards.
The setup we have is just insane. They'd been watching us take some long shots.
I went out to their facility in Cody, Wyoming last year. Spent 3 days. In 16 years at TVB, this is probably the most impressive place I've ever seen. Gina shot her muley this year at 200 yards, not a big deal. Made her longest shot ever a few weeks ago in Wyoming on her antelope. She smoked him at 400 yards. I hard shot my mule deer at 490, and then I totally pinwheeled, smoked my goat, my antelope at 577. I'm telling you, these guys, man.
That's amazing.
Well, the scope changed my life.
I knew it was a matter of time before they're all going to want to shoot it, but it's always fun, getting back to camp and looking at all the new cool gear.
Man, look at this beast. Look at this. Yeah, I cannot wait.
So that second day at Brad's, I could tell Gina was wore out. Getting in at 4:30 in the morning, not getting any sleep, going and sitting in the tree all day. One of the biggest things that usually tees off her getting migraines is just getting too wore out and not enough sleep. So, I had Gina stay back, catch up on her sleep. I decided to self-film, which is something I enjoy doing, especially with my Tacticam setup.
It is our second day in Indiana, hunting solo today. Doing a little self-filming, which is something I really enjoy. Told Gina to stay at camp today and just kind of catch up on her sleep. We've been running hard and it just takes a lot out of you. I'm at a new stand with Alan. This is supposed to be a great spot. They had a lot of browning pictures of deer back here. They had browning pics of 4 or 5 different bucks. I'm gonna dig in, sit all day. Of course, it's November, so see if I can get me an Indiana buck down.
I headed out, camped out all day long, and again, just a quiet day.
So at about noon, just didn't see a deer. Felt like we really need to be in the hardwoods. Being down said, hey man, I really think we need to get back in the woods, back in the swamps, back in the thicker stuff. I think that's where the bucks are at. I think they're back in the thick stuff, cruising, looking for does and chasing does. I know they're on their feet this time of year, so, when you sit all day this time of year and you're not seeing deer, it's time to move. That's why we're texting. I got a pic from my Browning cell cam of a nice big buck back here.
We did get a little spark of hope. We got a picture of a pretty big buck on our Browning cell cam.
While we were kind of debating on what to do, I got a picture of a nice buck, probably 150-inch, maybe bigger 10 back here. Feeling really good about this spot, feeling confident. So hopefully making the move pays off and I can get one down.
Again, that was promising, but we should have been seeing a lot more deer. all you can do is dig in and hope. The fact we had a picture of a big buck, it kind of kept me motivated for the rest of the day. But unfortunately, that rough November, just continued. So I packed it up that night, after dark, headed back to camp, checked on Gina, making sure she was rested up, and then really just, again, brainstorm and strategize. When it's slow, you're definitely thinking of a million different ways that you can get a deer down. So this is when the guessing game starts.
So you're going you're going to Kentucky in the morning. We're going to stay in Indiana. Hopefully get a good buck, but because there's other big bucks on that field. I mean, but if he's there every night right now, hey, you know what? We'll crawl in the blind. And if I can cover that field with that blind, we got the
Yeah, we just gotta see.
We got the best of the West and the Huskemaws, man.
Well,
And it really becomes a guessing game. So at that point, you just kind of look at everything and go with your gut.
well, I'm all recharged on my beauty sleep after resting yesterday, so these bucks better watch out.
We're in the grizzly blind.
I know, look at this.
This is like the penthouse suite. This is the nicest blind I've ever seen in my life. You have room and you can see, I feel like you can see everything, I feel like you miss a lot of blinds in the way this one's set up. You can really see everything.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get our first kill of the grizzly and get our first kill with the best of the West muzzleloader.
So we were kind of getting down to the wire. We hunted a few more days at Brad's, hunted with Alan, and it just wasn't happening. At this point, I start making some phone calls. After hunting Indiana for almost 20 years, we've got a lot of friends there. We've got some backup farms. We've kind of got some aces in the hole if we get in a pinch. Made a few calls, and a buddy of mine called me back and told me he wasn't actually at his farm, but we were more than welcome to go. He said, hey, the bucks are moving there. He'd been getting a lot of pictures, a lot of activity. The farm hadn't really been pressured or hunted hard in November. So he felt like if me and Gina went there and kind of dug in and sat all day, we'd probably get a crack at least at one good buck. It was time to make a move.
We're getting into crunch time, so we've made some calls, obviously. I think this farm's going to be good. I say we do at least one full day in the tree, or in the blind if it storms,
We get into my buddy's place late that night. Gina hits the sack. Really, all in all, the plan was to get in, settle in, get up the next morning, and camp out for 2 days and try and get Gina a good buck down. Unfortunately, things, continue to change, and it continued to be a tricky November. I got up that next morning, started to get Gina up, and she had a migraine.
And I looked straight at Jon and I was like, no way, it's not gonna happen today.
And when these things hit her, it's down for the count. So I'm kind of sitting there thinking, I'm like, well, we're here, we gotta shoot something. I'm gonna go self-film. As I'm getting ready in the living room, I hear this kind of crazy noise outside. I can't figure out what it is. And I go open the door. When I go open the door, it about blows me off my feet. It's raining and there's like a 40-mile-an-hour wind. I mean, it is absolutely ripping outside. So I'm like, great, here we go. So when I looked at the weather, there was a huge storm coming in. It called for rain pretty much all morning until about 11 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, it called for a huge storm to blow in. But at this point, I'm determined, I'm stubborn. I'm like, it doesn't matter. I was gonna go get in that stand, I was gonna dig in, and I wasn't coming out of that stand until I shot a deer or got blown out by the storm. So go get in the stand, get in, nice and quiet before light. Of course, it's, easy to be quiet with 40-mile-an-hour winds. I get in a ladder stand and, of course, that wind is right in my face,
40-mile-an-hour winds? I don't know what I'd rather be dealing with, that or this migraine.
Sun comes up, it's quiet, it's drizzling. I know the big storm's coming at 11, I'm fighting the wind, trying to stay dry, but it's just not happening. Just as I'm sitting in my stand, wind blowing, soaking wet, just pretty much given up on trying to keep cameras dry and everything else. You know, just telling myself there's no way I'm gonna see a deer. You know, this is miserable conditions. And it always happens like that, right? It's always the one time you think you're not gonna see a deer, you see a giant buck. And then wouldn't you know it, you know, I look up and out in the field, I see this big old buck, and he starts working my way. So at this point, you know, I'm hoping this deer is gonna make it all the way to me. He's kind of working around. He starts to come towards me. He dips off to the right and kind of gets off into the hardwoods, and I'm like, okay, is he gone?
He's a shooter. He's a big buck. It looks like a big 10.
You know, again, I'm sitting there thinking it's over. You know, the storm is literally, I mean, it's almost 11. I can feel the storm coming. Everything is soaking wet. Nothing's going right. And then, you know, all of a sudden he pops right out in front of me and starts walking, you know, literally right under my stand. I mean, the one time I've got my long distance muzzleloader and this buck literally walks under my stand. So at this point, you know, everything's happening fast. I'm trying to get cameras turned around. I'm trying to get spun around. You know, I let the buck walk past me because I don't want to spook him. Trying to get camera situated. Everything's going crazy. And at this point, man, I'm just hoping I can get a shot off. At this point, you know, my instincts kick in. You know, I'm so used to having Tacticams, it's like I know they will save my butt. At this point, I want to get this deer down.
Oh my God. Holy jeez.
Deer stops for just a second, pull the trigger, and boom, he drops. At this point, I don't even know if I've got him on camera.
Holy jeez.
I'm just ecstatic that, you know, at the end of this crazy road trip, you know, I've got a big old 170-inch plus deer laying on the ground, you know, 40 yards from me.
Day 20 in the stand, sun up to sundown, 4 different states. Finally got it done in Indiana. Oh my gosh. What a freaking roller coaster. Had a buddy of mine call me. He knew we were struggling. Told me he had some good ones running around his farm. Told me if we come and sat in this stand all day, he thought we'd get a crack at a good one. Then found out a front was coming in. You know, rain and 30-mile-an-hour winds today. I'm like, we just cannot get a break. We gambled. We came over last night. Said we're gonna hunt here one day. 20 days straight in the stand. Just when you think it's not gonna happen, just when you think, holy cow, we are not gonna kill a deer this November, I see a big old buck. He pops out over here. I'm spinning cameras, trying to get stuff ready. He walks right underneath me. I mean, it's a bow shot. Then he starts to trot off up the road. Oh my God, I thought he was gone. And they finally stopped. I had a little freaking opening. And I dropped him, baby. Whew. Yes.
And I'm really glad that Jon was able to bag such a nice buck and bring some good luck to our road trip.
Nice old dark horn Indiana bruiser, baby.
So at this point, I don't even know if I've got him on camera at all.
Check out my boy. Oh my God, I needed this.
But I've got a deer down on the ground and I'm happy. So I get down, I check him out.
There he is. Dropped him, baby. Best of us muzzleloader. Put the hammer on him.
Just a really cool buck, really unique deer, kind of that darker horn, which I like.
Look at him. What a crazy looking buck. I didn't even see the junk.
I can tell by putting my hands on him, you know, he's gonna probably bust 170. And you know, that's a great deer. I mean, that's a deer of a lifetime for most people.
What a buck. Oh, wow. Look at the mass. Just an old freaking bruiser. Look at the mass on this guy. Look at this stuff. Just got some little junk going on here. I know, man, he's a nice clean 10. What a beautiful deer. Beautiful, beautiful deer. Oh, man. Yes, baby, yes.
All I want to do is get the buggy, get that deer loaded, get him back to camp so I can show Gina.
That was freaking awesome. What a freaking deer. Yeah, baby.
It's been a bit of an up and down road trip this season.
You know, our November this year was rough, and it's gonna happen. You know, we've been doing this 17 years, and it's not always gonna work out. I felt a little bad that, you know, she wasn't in the stand and she didn't get to shoot that deer, but, you know, we've been here before.
You know, I'm a little jealous, but at the end of the day, the Brunsons got it done.
You know, us both knowing that we had this nice big buck down to kind of close our road trip was awesome. Packing up to head home to spend Thanksgiving with the kids, it's always a little nicer when, you know, you close out with a nice big buck as opposed to, you know, closing out empty-handed.